folks, Ray from Rainmaker.com here to give you your first ride of the new Innsbruck course in Zwift. Now this course is for the Innsbruck UCI World Championships coming up here in later September. And this is similar to what Zwift did with Richmond back a couple of years ago in the Richmond UCI course that you saw that's still loved today, of course. But this one I think is a little more interesting, and no offense to Richmond. I lived in Virginia for like a decade, so I get it, but it's Richmond, so sorry. This course, though, is a lot cooler. In fact, it's so cool, I actually went and rode the real thing, as in real life, back about 3 weeks ago. You can check out that video up there that I did with Shane Miller. And that was like a kind of a preview, a recon, if you will, of this course itself. And I'm gonna go ahead and run you through it, or ride you through it. Now, there's actually a couple different routes on it. So I'll just kind of walk through what those routes are real quick. The first one is the short lap course. You'll see that it goes up the hill, and then back down the hill, and then around town and back to start again. And so that's actually very similar to the course that I rode in terms of the exact ordering and the exact direction around that loop that I did back a couple weeks ago. So that is what I'm going to do today. Then you have the Octoban loop. So this is basically that same loop in reverse, up the hill and back down again. And then you go up it the other way around as well. So you're basically doing 2 loops of the hill. That entire green spot, that's what I'm referring to as the hill. It's just a gigantic climb up and a gigantic climb back down again, or descent back down again. So in this case, you're doing it twice, just one each direction. And then we look at the Innsbruck Ring route, which is simply the portion in town there, just looping around through the city and then on the river as well. And then we have this 15-mile course there that goes up and twice, and then it ends at the summit there. So you'll see it goes around the entire loop once, then back up again, ends at that summit if you really like climbing and want to have that descent once. And then finally, similar course, the exact same thing, but in reverse as well. So this time it's going that same loop, basically the climb portion of it twice, the descent once, and ending at the top. And of course, the last two are just based on choosing a surprise course or riders nearby you. So those are the course there. In terms of where this fits in the entire UCI World Championship route, this is essentially the women's elite course, or the short portion of the men's course. So all of the UCI routes, depending on which age category and whatnot you're in, will do this portion, or in fact the entire UCI World short lap portion, if you will. But they're coming from different directions in the valley there, so they've done a whole bunch of miles before they get to this point, and then they do this, depending on the exact course, a number of times. So this is essentially this figure-8 pattern that you can do as you see fit, as you saw there, either front or forward direction or backwards direction, however you really want. I think it's time to just simply go ahead and kit up and go ahead and get on the bike and just simply start riding. In case you're wondering, by the way, for the bike itself, or the trainer, Kicker Core, that's the one that was just announced back, I guess, a month ago now. Kicker Climb, that's the one that was announced a year ago and is finally shipping now. Headwind, that's the thing that's crazy expensive but blows a lot of air. And my bike, a Canyon bike. There we go. So let's jump on and get riding. I'll just kind of show you segments of it. Maybe I'll put the entire file up in the corner there for you to watch from start to finish if you do want to watch that whole like 45 minutes or however long it takes me. I have no idea. Okay, so here we are at the typical ride selection screen. In this case, I'm just doing the UCI World short lap, as I mentioned earlier. That'll go ahead and just drop us right into the course itself. Now, it actually pulls us a little bit before the start line, so it's not quite exactly at the start line itself, but like before, about a quarter mile ahead of time, so I guess that's like half a K or so. And you'll see as we go, kind of get closer to the start line, and that's where the official UCI Worlds course is. There we go, right there, the official UCI banner. At that point, you're pretty much in town for a while, so kind of we'll speed through this real quick. In town for about like 5-6 minutes. It's not terribly long, but it's a nice point to kind of warm up here. You can see just zipping through some buildings and whatnot, and then eventually what's going to happen, we'll get up close to the highway. And the highway is basically the point that marks where the start of that loop is, and that's the loop that goes up on the hill, and you can see the hill goes out right there, and there is the highway itself. Now in real life, this highway is pretty sketchy, this entire interchange, but in the game here, they make it look all very nice and pretty. It is technically a roundabout as well there, so that part is correct, which is nice. And then this is where really the elevation kicks up a little bit, so you start to see the incline go up. And the first little bit isn't too bad, the first maybe half a K or so. and then it gets a little bit steeper up as you go up further. Now you'll notice on the left-hand side right there, we've got actual traffic. So there's really real cars here. This is a pretty major highway for traffic across that region, so it is appropriate to have that there. You don't hear any sounds from the traffic though, which is kind of a bummer because in real life, all you hear is sounds of that traffic on the highway there. And even on this road itself in real life is actually pretty busy down lower. But once you're up higher like you are right here, it's pretty nice. It's very, very quiet, both in real life as well as the game itself. And so this is kind of the first couple of bends there. You can see some different kind of historic looking castles and whatnot off in the background. In real life though, like this building here on the left hand side, that wall, that brick wall there isn't actually brick. It's like more of a kind of chain link fence sort of thing, so you can see through it and to see into the garden behind it. But here I guess they're just kind of using some standard assets over and over again. Continuing to climb up, you'll see the elevation will kind of fluctuate most of the way between about 4% and about 11-12%. I think the average gradient's actually 6% for this entire climb. Continue all the way up this. For me, in real life, it took me 27 minutes. In a game, it took me 27 minutes yesterday. Today, it took me 29 minutes because I managed to have a mechanical, which was silly. I actually popped off my chain but inverted it, which I've never done on my bike before, but actually flipped the chain. So that was sort of a sad panda moment. But again, this is mostly just climbing, pretty quiet. You may have just seen there a second ago, there's a red telephone booth from London. So if you didn't see that, go rewind. And then eventually get to the top. And as you can see here, it's about 30 minutes today with the mechanical. You can see my PR from yesterday, 27 minutes. And then this is the peak of this entire climb. And once you hit this, it's kind of gradual downhill. In fact, the last, I would say half a kilometer or so up into that point is pretty gradual as well. Now you may be checking out this in the corner. Just after that peak there, you've got this crazy little fountain thing that's off in the background. And at that point, once you hit that, it's all downhill to get back down in town. And it's pretty darn steep. In fact, going down this way is much, much steeper than the way we came up. I hit here speeds up to 50 miles an hour coming down this in the game. In real life, I think we topped out around 40 or so, mostly because we got city buses and whatnot. Now you'll see off the side there's that famed ski jump from the Olympics years and years ago. So that's one of those areas where Zwift kind of wanted to merge things that were there in real life with sort of the more, using their imagination thing on kind of the smoothing and the graphics elsewhere to make it look a little prettier than it might really be in real life. But if you're riding this course in real life, if you're going to the UCI World Championships, the focus as you're going down this hill is going to be on not crashing, because you're just screaming around these turns left and right as you go ahead and you work your way back down to the village there. It is a blast if there's no traffic though on the road, as there would be of course in the middle of the race. If you're training though, a bit of traffic. Eventually you hit this highway overpass down to the city there. That kind of marks the point where you're going to go into the city, or if you're doing some of the other loops, you may loop back around the hillside there. You just noticed the Z Hotel, probably the Zwift Hotel there. And now you're just in a city where it's mostly flat for a fair chunk of it. You're going over some bridges like you see here. I keep hoping to see that train again come out of this railroad tracks right there, but hasn't quite happened. There is a train earlier on the course that you can see in the full video as well, which is kind of cool to see that there, because I don't think we have trains anywhere else in Zwift. But again, just a nice kind of overpass bridge area that's elevated above the rest of the town there. At which point you hit sort of like this older style town portion for a little ways here before you hit the actual climb that's in town itself. So once you see these old style buildings, that's kind of giving you the preparedness that you're about to start climbing. There is a brief cobblestone section here, so if you have a tax Neo, you might feel that, which is kind of cool. And then you've got this 8% climb in the middle of town. It's not terribly long, maybe like 800,000 meters, something like that. Just long enough though to put the pain on before you hit the peak of it, and then you come swooping back down again. That'll definitely break up a lot of different race groups, there's no doubt about that. And then you have maybe like 2 minutes or so before you hit this sprint line here, and this is one of the main sprints, really the only sprint in town. There of course are segments going up the hills and whatnot, but this is the one that's in town itself, right alongside the river there. It's only 0.2 miles, so again, about 5/10 of a kilometer or so until you get to the sprint banner there. So here's my second sprint, and I did one yesterday afternoon. This one I just barely eked it out. And then after the sprint, you kind of loop around on this bridge up here, come back down alongside the river, and you've only got just a couple minutes along the flats here until you get back into the main portion where there is the finishing banner. So it's kind of the circuit in town there that you're doing after you've done the hillside of things, and then you can see here coming back up on the finishing banner. In this case I was at about 53 minutes or so, and about 51 minutes on yesterday's attempt of things. going ahead and looking at the final stats there, you can see those. There's the entire route that I did, up the top of the more shallower side, then back down the steep side. Looking at the timeline, it was pretty consistent across this entire ride. My goal wasn't to kill it, except for a little attempt on that sprint, but even that wasn't, I would not say it was my best effort, but that is what it is. Okay, so there you go, a complete look at the Innsbruck course. Not too shabby, it's fun. It's like a nice little blend of, you know, mountain with flats to warm up on, whatever you want to do, it's there. I'm definitely looking forward to this more than Richmond, which is awesome. I'm really just hoping Zwift has a way to change worlds so that we can ride this course and every other course we want to, whenever we want to, with all the peoples, not like the course world hack sort of thing that you've got there. So anyways, cool stuff. Don't forget to head out the article on the bottom, the full link there. I've got that with a lot more details as well about stuff like exact course files you can download, Strava segments, all that kind of fun stuff is there. And of course, if you found this interesting, whack the subscribe button at the bottom. I really appreciate it, of course, as well as the like button, because that helps out this this channel. Have a good one.
I've got this feeling, I'm feeling you could be the one.